There's a trendy little acronym that's making the rounds in managerial circles these days called VUCA, V-U-C-A, and it stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA refers to the perfect storm of circumstances of life that sometimes hit individuals, families, communities, and nations. It happens when you face a string of complicated and ever-changing unknown unknowns. Or, as an article in the Harvard Business Review put it, VUCA is a catch-all phrase for, hey, it's crazy out there. Well, as we watch the news or read the newspapers, I think we can all kind of shout, hey, it is really crazy out there. And perhaps we need to stop and ask why. Perhaps it's because our world is so much like the foolish bridesmaids in that gospel, ill-equipped. But then we have to ask, why are we ill-equipped? Perhaps it's because we're not seeking that resplendent and radiant wisdom that we hear of in that first reading. So let's ask ourselves a few questions this afternoon. Are we foolish or wise? Are we awake or asleep? And what are we seeking in life? Foolishness is defined as the opposite of wisdom. So what is wisdom? Well, the Nobel Prize-winning German novelist Hermann Hesse said, knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. We do not gain wisdom from reading a book. On the other hand, the Center for Social Leadership with Oliver DeMille and Michael McKean tell us we can develop it. And we can develop it in 4 ways, they tell us. First of all, from the knowledge that we gain. Secondly, from a careful observation of the lives of people around us. Thirdly, from a critical examination of our own lives. And fourth, from purposeful meditation and reflection. You see, wisdom is how we connect and employ knowledge that counts. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is what makes knowledge effective. Without it, we cannot benefit from the knowledge that we have. Wisdom seeks to know how life works. It can provide us with moral direction to determine specific actions. So it is concerned with consequences. Consequences are important. More specifically, it seeks to know what is right and what is truth and who does one believe. Thus, the means to an end are also very critical. It might be stated that the ultimate goal of wisdom is to help us make better choices and by our example, to encourage others to do the same. Unfortunately, we seem not to be living in a world of wisdom. We seem today to be living in a world of opinions. Opinions which are common and natural to all of us, but opinions are not truth, and opinions are not wisdom. But we are so overwhelmed today by information that often it's so much easier to have an opinion and believe that that's truth. And as this happens, it becomes so much more difficult for all of us to know what truth is and to know who do we believe today. So let me ask another question. In this world which seems so crazy these days, what are we teaching our young people? I find it so very interesting that so many of our young people have found such amazing meaning in the Hunger Games trilogy. If you're familiar with the Hunger Games trilogy, it has been called the novel of a generation. The trilogy depicts adolescents rigorously trained by adults for desperate but meaningless life or death competitions. And for some reason, this trilogy resonates with our young people's worry. They're worried because they're all honed up with no place to go. They rack up majors and minors and certificates, credentials and internships to keep them in the running for what they feel to be an even more, ever more elusive success. And so many of our young people are driven by fear. And because they're driven by fear, they clothe themselves in an armor of achievement that they hope will protect them against uncertainties. First of all, of course, the uncertainty of the job market, but also some much deeper uncertainties about their status, about their identities, about their self-worth. So many of our young people are simply trying to gain more and more control over a very, very uncertain future. And of course, we encourage them to be successful, to get a good job, to make lots of money. But are we teaching them wisdom? Are we teaching them what to do with the success and the money they gain, and how to make right choices, and how to figure out what truth is, and how to figure out who really to believe? Perhaps we're teaching them everything but how to become wise. I find it so interesting. Amazon tells us that the most highlighted passage in all of the books read on Kindle, highlighted almost twice as often as any other passage, is from the second volume of the Hunger Games. And the passage is simple. The passage simply is, because sometimes things happen to people and they're not equipped to deal with them. So, as adults, are we equipped? And then are we equipping our young people with the needed resources to deal with the VUCA, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity that's a part of our lives right now? But we live in a world where wisdom is undervalued at nearly all levels of our modern society. You know, we talk incessantly about success and talent and progress and getting ahead. We trust what an IQ is, we promote an EQ, and we try to stay well-versed on the latest personality theories. Regular people all over the world keep an eye on fashion and health, technological, parenting, architectural, entertainment, cultural trends. We glorify high test scores, prestigious associations, personal status symbols, but we undersell or simply ignore the indispensable element of lasting success, the indispensable element that truly progresses a society, which of course is wisdom. And maybe some of it is because we are rushing around so fast that our lives lose significance. Gandhi was really correct when he said, speed is not the summum bonum of human life. So, what's the challenge today? Well, if we slow down, if we ponder, if we contemplate, if we connect, we can develop wisdom. You see, it's a journey. It's a journey that requires less technology and a lot more introspection and reflection. Wisdom is a personal quest that must be based on the right perspective. And knowing where wisdom begins is the first step. In this constantly changing context of our lives, a godly-based wisdom provides us with answers and guidance and stability. The answers, the guidance, the stability that we all need to live lives of significance and meaning. VUCA is going to be with us for a long time, probably as human beings, as long as we're human. The volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity. There will always be a string of complicated, ever-changing, unknown unknowns. And just reading a book and just having knowledge is not enough to confront it. We need wisdom. And only wisdom will help us figure out what truth really is and who can we really believe is telling the truth. It is crazy out there. So let's each ask ourselves a question. Are we foolish, or are we struggling to develop wisdom?